Hey everyone, welcome back. I hope this video gets out on time. I really have no idea. The last few days have been pretty hectic. On top of regular work, I've just been filming and editing this video, but I've still got to do voiceover and music and all that sort of thing at this point in time when I'm recording this intro. This is my monthly faves sketchbook. This is a little sketchbook that I received in the Upgrade Advent calendar last year, and I'm a Wonder, who I mention in every video. I just love her so much. She does a monthly faves sketchbook spread, and so I thought, what a cute idea to sort of visually capture your favorite things at the end of every month. So I dedicated a whole sketchbook to it. So I'm going to be taking you through the completion of my March monthly faves in this video today. This will be a little bit of a longer video. I didn't want to do a lot of time lapse. I think there's value in actually seeing how much time it takes to draw, paint. So while it is edited and cut down quite a lot, what you see me drawing is real-time footage. The other thing I've been working on is this. If you are watching this and you're in Melbourne and it's still the first week of April 2023, then you still have time to contribute to the Last Chance Rock and Roll Bar's possible campaign to raise funds to save the tote. I am a huge live music fan. I was a live music photographer for 10 years pre-pandemic. But yeah, anyway, the tote is for sale. It is not a heritage building. We know how this goes. I don't accept a world where the tote doesn't exist and becomes apartments. I just don't. I don't want it to land into the hands of property developers. So I have pledged personally, but I am also selling this guy. I made this little print from my lino cut block print, and I'm hand painting, stamping and printing these. Selling these as an extra way to raise some money. So yeah, if you're seeing this video in the first week of April, there is still time to pledge. If you want one of these, you can leave a comment down below and I'll get in touch with you and send you one. They're 10 bucks. And I'll also leave a link to the possible campaign in the description box, just in case you want to share it or pledge yourself. Super important that we retain this iconic music venue for Melbourne. If you're seeing this after the first week of April, let's hope they got over the line and the tote will continue to exist. It's a really important part of the community. So with all that said, yeah, so obviously it's March, so this will be my March monthly faves. But this was January. I'll just show you what I did. And this was February. Last of Us episode 3, if you know, you know. And Pamela Anderson there. So yeah, this is really fun. I have a lot of fun doing this. So let's watch me draw. So the first thing I do when I'm starting a new monthly faves spread is choosing a font, and that usually kind of gives me an indication of how I'm going to lay out the rest of the page. And for some reason this month I just wanted it to look like neon lights, because I knew I was going to have just 4 portraits, musicians, women in music that have inspired me this month. And so I kind of wanted to have like this neon light type of effect. So I used a pink acrylic paint marker and did these kind of like bubbly letters, and then I filled in, this was really time consuming by the way, I went over the top of that in like a skinny white Posca acrylic paint marker, and so I did one layer of the paint, and then I went back and did a second layer of the white, making sure each layer was dry before I moved on to the next. Then I went around the white with a bright pink, like a felt tip marker, just to give it sort of a bit more of that like sort of neon glow. And then I grabbed a pink pencil and did like a fuzzy blended line around the outside to give it that like glowy lit kind of look. I'm pretty happy with it. I think it looks pretty cute. I used the felt tip marker again to go around the outside of the pink letter. So yeah, it's just like tons of layers, but I actually really like the effect of it. I think it looks cute. Does it look like neon? I don't know. And then I thought, you know, let's do something new. Let's grab a dip pen and some black ink, because I've never done that before. So I thought, let's go. Let's grab the dip pen and try inking the sketches, and let's see how that goes, and hopefully I don't mess it up. So I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. Took a little bit of getting used to how much ink to load up onto the nib, but I got the hang of it. So I don't know if you'll recognize anybody yet. If you love goth, if you love like 80s punk, you might have recognized Miss Susie Sue there. I'm not sure what happened to the next sketch. I thought that I filmed it, but I obviously didn't, but it's Lana. And then this sketch here, this portrait, is Kathleen Hanna from Bikini Kill, who had a huge impact on me in March. Who's got cats? Always picking off cat fur out of my supplies. I love them, but their fur gets everywhere. So yeah, here's my little line work for my Kathleen portrait. And then I'm hoping that some of you will recognize this one. Not a musician so much, but a character from a movie that I saw in March that was just so incredible, blew me away. When I'm drawing, like filling out all the color, I will talk a little bit more about the subject of each of these pieces. But yeah, if you recognize her, let me know. Iconic. So here is the final inked line work, and pretty happy with how it all turned out. Didn't have any big mistakes. And now it is time to color. And I thought, let's do color pencils. So I've got this 120 set from Arteza. I love the feeling. I'm not sure what they're coated in, but they feel so nice in your hands. I usually start with, when I'm coloring with pencil, I usually start with the shadows, always in a color. And sometimes that's blue, sometimes it's green, sometimes it's purple. But I find that doing shadows in colour pencils, when I do colour pencil drawings, when you use colour, it really adds so much to a portrait. Now I thought I might give you a little bit of a background of Miss Susie Sue, if you don't know about her. So Susie felt really isolated when she was growing up. She was assaulted when she was 9, and that was ignored by both her parents and the police, which left her just distrustful of adults for the rest of her life. Her father was troubled as well. He was an alcoholic. He passed away when she was 14. And after that, she became quite sick and she had to go to the hospital. And when she was home recovering, she saw David Bowie on the TV. She developed a rich inner life and an alternate reality, which kept her safe from the outside world. So losing herself in music and that sort of thing really helped her to survive. She left school at 17 and started going to the local gay clubs. And a friend of hers saw the Sex Pistols play at an art school and told her about them. So she went to London to check out a show, and just the DIY-ness of the punk scene really resonated with her. The idea that the people in the crowd could be the people on stage. So she started a band. Their first gig was opening a punk festival run by Malcolm McLaren, and they had no songs, so they improvised a 20-minute set, which is incredible. I remember seeing Susie when I was really young, and she just didn't look like anybody that I'd ever seen before. She made an impact from everybody right from the jump. She was unlike anybody else. I remember she just had such a huge impression on me visually. That iconic hair and that makeup, like I didn't think that you could look like that. She just blew my mind. So whenever Susie and the Banshees pops into my head, I just get lost in listening to them for days at a time. I had to put her into my monthly faves. Susie came up on my Spotify. You know when you listen to a Spotify playlist and then it starts playing other songs related to that if you just leave it on? Well, my friend Bridget, now Bridget, if you're listening to this, comment below. I think she sent me a playlist, and I believe it was a playlist around the Pisces new moon. And I was just really feeling it. It was such a good playlist. And I'd been listening to it over and over and over again. And I just let it play one day, and it was just giving me tons of Susie. And I was like, this is amazing. This is all I could ever want right now. So yeah, Susie had to be part of my March faves. Highly recommend you check out Susie and the Banshees if you like cool, gothy, industrial, punk. Like, they're just so good. And these are the colours that I used for that drawing. And here's the finished piece. So next up we have Lana Del Rey, and I didn't really get Lana until I heard Ride, and then it was over. That song just became a soundtrack to multiple solo road trips across the US. It was empowering to me. It made my heart ache. It made me feel seen. It was just over for me from that first listen. And then I heard her song Young and Beautiful on the Great Gatsby soundtrack, and I've just been a fan ever since. Like, she's cinematic, melancholic, she's romantic, she always makes me cry. But she makes me cry those good tears, you know, the ones where you're kind of sad, but in a way that also comforts you because you felt that love that's left your heart aching. Does that make sense? If you resonate with that, let me know in the comments, because that's like a specific mood. And Lana just invokes that constantly with me, and I love it. So I started the Lana drawing with a green pencil, and the way I like to fill in my colored pencil pieces is just like adding up light layers. And I'm obsessed with the way this portrait came out. I'm really stoked with it. And you can see like the way I just layer everything up, building up the values, like putting in the shadows first but in a light way, and then just adding in the mid-tones, building up the values. So of course Lana has a new album out, and it's called Did You Know There's a Tunnel Under Ocean Boulevard, and so that came out in March, and while I've only listened to it a few times so far, I love it because I'm just such a huge fan, and she just had to be part of my monthly faves. So you'll notice my sketchbook is a little ripped here. Here's the culprit.
I was talking to my patrons about this and saying that it's interesting to have...
Every time I have a sketchbook open, Evie has to flick the cover and the pages, and so she ripped it. I'm not sure exactly what Lana's eye color is, but I sort of added like 4 different colors in there, and I think it turned out really good. And I'm using a deep green again to add more shadows and dimension. I just love the colors in this one and the way it turned out. She's so pretty. And here are all the colors that I used to color Lana Del Rey. and the finished piece. All right, next up is Kathleen Hanna. Kathleen is the singer in Bikini Kill, who were a crucial part of my discovery of feminism when I was in my early 20s. Bikini Kill came to Australia in 1996 and they played a festival called Somersault with a side club show at the Corner Hotel in Melbourne. I went to both of those shows with my little sister. I remember the club show. She remembers the festival set, but neither of us remember the others. So there you go. It was a long time ago. When Bikini Kill announced shows in Australia again this March, I got tickets and got to see them again with my sister, which was incredible. Kathleen was a pioneer of the Riot Girl zine in the early 90s, which ended up becoming an entire feminist movement. And it was made accessible to lots of young women through DIY music and art scenes. It definitely inspired me, and it still does. There's a really great documentary about Kathleen from 2013 called The Punk Singer, and I highly recommend checking it out if you can track it down. In addition to Bikini Kill, Kathleen has a couple of other bands, Le Tigre, I'm probably saying that wrong, and the Julie Ruin, and all her bands are excellent. And she also has a non-profit t-shirt company called Tees for Togo, which raises money to help fund girls' school tuition in Togo, and 100% of proceeds are donated. So a $40 shirt funds an entire school year for one student. And I will link that site below because the shirts are amazing and it's such a good cause. Like, she's such a great activist. She's honestly been inspiring me so much for decades now. And she had to go on the faves list after seeing her again in March. So this was a pretty colourful portrait, this one. You can see I've used lots of greens in this, which might sound a little strange, but it all works out in the end. You just got to trust the process. So I did the Kathleen piece at night. That's why the lighting's a bit weird during this particular piece. And I was very confident with my color choices, and I still am. but sometimes when you look at things in the bright light of day, uh, things can look a little bit different. So I highly suggest looking at your things in natural daylight and making adjustments if you need to. This is just all the colors that I used. I actually like this as a design element, just to have these little color swatches of the colors that you used in the piece. So these were all the colors of the pencils that I used. And you probably wouldn't think to look at that as a set that would make a portrait, but it does. Although, as I was saying, I did make an adjustment in the morning. I used this Caran d'Ache pencil, and you can see how I just used it to tone down some of the green in the shadow area, just to mute it a little bit, and I think it definitely needed that. So, related to Bikini Kill, and the only non-musician in my March faves is Corinne Burns from the 1982 movie Ladies and Gentlemen, The Fabulous Stains. I had never seen this movie before, but when a friend of mine made a Facebook post selling tickets to a screening that was being presented by Kathleen Hanna and Kathy Wilcox of Bikini Kill the night after the Bikini Kill show, I brought them and went along. Now, I hadn't even heard of this movie, and I honestly thought it was going to be a documentary about a punk band. What it was, though, was an incredible movie about frustrated small town teenagers, which is super relatable because I was also a frustrated small town teenager. This movie stars Diane Lane, who you see here. This Corinne was played by Diane. And she was 15, I think, at the time of filming. And Laura Dern is in this movie as well, in one of her first film roles. Laura actually attained emancipation from her parents during the filming of this so that she could work on set the same amount of hours as an adult, which is incredible. And the movie also features some real life musicians like Steve Jones and Paul Cook from the Sex Pistols and Paul Simonon of The Clash. Now, I absolutely loved this movie. Corinne is a young girl whose mother has passed away. She works at a fast food restaurant and gains some local notoriety after a television interview where she yells at her boss, gets fired, and becomes a kind of hero for the station's teenage viewers. One night, Corinne goes to a punk show and her life is forever changed. And I could totally relate to that. Like, music had such a huge impact on me as well. This movie had everything. It's punk rock, it's a road movie, it's a movie about following your dreams no matter how much experience you have, and of taking up space within misogynist industries. And again, that's very relatable. Kathleen and Kathy saw this together when they were teenagers and literally started a band afterwards, and I reckon I would have too if I'd seen this when I was that age. Highly recommend hunting it down. Corinne rules, and she had to feature in my monthly faves. Look at her iconic makeup. Like, what a boss. She was 15. And again, I'm just doing light layers of color, just building up the values. Pop in your shadows first to give you a guideline, and then just go for it. Go for it. Trust your instincts. It's a sketchbook. Doesn't matter if you mess up. And like I was saying in my intro, I really didn't want to do like a time-lapse video. While I do see the benefit in time-lapse because you can see the entire process start to finish, I think there's so much value in being able to see the actual time it takes to make art, even if you're seeing like an edited version of it. Let me know what you think. So I ended up just going over the ink with a black fine liner just to intensify that eyeliner of hers. Added in some white highlights with my Posca pen, and that was it for Corinne. I love how this portrait came out. It's such a cool movie. I highly recommend checking it out. And these are the colours that I used to colour in Corinne. So this was a really fun spread from my March faves. I love the way it turned out. I ended up drawing in some like pink neon hearts around it and love the final result. So if you also liked the result, you chuck us a like and I'll see you next time.